We'll open the Explorer, open up the model, and first of all make the geometry live. We'll set the geometry group to have no effect on members, and we'll remove some deformers from our existing weight map. At the moment, the weight map colors don't really relate to the colors of the bones on the character because I've pre-colored the bones, left side control group, right side, and middle. I could make a temporary group to hold the bone colors. If you remember, the group's colors are driven by an override controlling the color attribute or the color display property on the bones. So if I was to make an empty group, and I could just call this something like bone color holder, I could drag all of the overrides temporarily onto those groups. And I'm just noticing a few discrepancies here. I duplicated these overrides originally in the first tutorial, so I'm just going to rename the overrides. I'll call this override middle. This one's definitely the right side and the left side. So everything was actually duplicated from the right side one. There we go. So at least this will give me a way to identify which override belongs to which group. So sometimes dragging and dropping between elements lower in the Explorer and elements higher up is a bit of a pain, so I'm just going to open a second Explorer and just drag these overrides directly from one Explorer to the next. And I'll drop the group back into the model. So now I have the bones as their original colors. And you'll notice that the bone's influence is sort of described in the following way. The wrist bone, pink, controls most of the deformation up until about, in this case, halfway up the forearm, at which point the orange bone, the actual forearm bone, takes over. So you can imagine how twisted the mess gets up here. We follow the deformation all the way to the bicep bone, where a single pivot is controlling that deformation rather than slowly distributing it stronger towards the twist. So I'm going to remove the influence of the arm and wrist twist deformers on both sides. I'll make sure my character's in a bind pose first by opening the mixer, sources, animation, and applying the rest pose. And I'll select the geometry and remove 3 deformers on each side. We'll remove the bicep, forearm, and ulna radii. Also do the same thing on the character's left side. Okay, so that part being done, let's have a look at our weight map. I'll press W, and we can see that the influence of those bones in those areas has been confirmed. They have turned black. So now we can get in here and start wiring in some new objects.